Hello, I'm Kathy Buckman.
And I'm Jerry Studahar.
We're your hosts for this special video episode of Knowing Kenning, a series where we explore topics related to supporting leaders, building teams, and improving performance. Today, we're going to walk through 6 rules that can help anyone have more impact with business writing. Think about all the time you spend with your hands on a keyboard. Most of that is writing. Making writing more powerful could be a big boost for you and your organization. The best practices we'll be talking about today come from the content of our Communicating Insights workshop. We've delivered this program at dozens of clients, and we know that these approaches work. We'll be walking through a slide deck, and if you'd like to get a copy, visit our website at this URL, and you can download it today. All right, handing off to Jerry.
So to help us get oriented around why we're here and what we're trying to solve for, when most of us, when we haven't had a lot of training in it, approach business writing, we're more likely to default to writing about topics. And in so doing, we're going to be summarizing information. We're often going to organize it chronologically and really leave the real point of it, the real so what of it, to the end. So what's bad about this is it can be unclear to our audience really what matters. And because it takes time wading through all of the unorganized information, it can mean a lot of extra follow-ups and meetings. And this slows down good decisions and moving business along. The good news is there is a better way, and that is what we call communicating insights, where you're going to think and you're going to start by answering the best question for the audience. What do they really care about in this moment about this topic? That's what I really want to focus on. And then you're going to organize your support for your point of view about your answer to that question afterwards, after giving your main message. And what we like about this, why we give it a thumbs up, is it leads to better understanding on the part of all of your audiences and can lead to faster and better decisions because it's based on better information. So to help you and others quickly get oriented around some best practices, we've distilled it down into these 6 rules. Number 1, identify the best question to answer. Number 2, answer that question with a single main message. Number 3, organize your document to support the message. Number 4, include only the information needed to support that message. 5, write mostly in bullets, no more than 5 in any one list. And finally, 6, visualize your data to support your message and eliminate visual clutter. We'll now walk through each of these 6 rules one by one and give you some examples. I'll turn it over to Kathy for number 1.
All right, rule number 1, identify the best question to answer. In most cases, when you turn your attention to some kind of writing task at work, your collaborators will have handed you a topic. In most cases, they'll say, we need an update on the project or something similar. But just writing about a topic gives you nothing to anchor on. Almost everything you know about the topic is relevant to the topic. And so it's hard to get started and it's hard to limit to the right information. So what we suggest is think about your audience and think about the question that they want you to answer about that topic. There's a reason they're asking you to focus on this in your writing. And if you can narrow down to what they really need you to focus on and push to formulate the best possible question, then you are going to have a much more focused approach to the writing that you're about to do. And there's a pro tip here. You don't have to guess that you've got the best possible question. You can check in with your audience before you even start drafting to confirm that you've got the question right. So here are some examples. You might, as part of your thinking along these lines, come up with a question that sounds like, what has the team done? Or what went wrong? And these are important questions to answer, certainly, but there are better formulations of these questions that are going to result in more insights. For example, what impact has the team had, and how can we prevent future problems?
On to number 2, Second rule, answer the question with a single main message. As Kathy said, we want to articulate what question it is our audience wants us to answer. And then once you've gotten clear about that, you want to get really clear about the answer. Then you want to write out that answer in a single sentence, a complete idea, no more than 25 words. And a good test of whether that is a good main message is if my audience stopped reading my communication at this point, would they have a good idea of what the rest of this is all about? Couple of pro tips here. First of all, that message that we're asking you to articulate, the answer to your question, that's really what a good TLDR should be. It should answer the main question on your audience's mind very quickly. So they're pretty much one and the same. Also, another great tip here, a number included in your answer will make the point more memorable and help signal the value to the stakeholders. Here's a couple of examples. If the question coming in from our audience is, how can we achieve our financial target? Our answer might be, we should add a new premium product to deliver 1.1 million in revenue. Another question might be, how can we improve how we make our reports? Our answer, the main message in our communication, we propose a new process that will be low risk, efficient, and address resource gaps. Back to Kathy.
All right. Rule number 3, organize the document to support the message. Once you know what your main message is for the document, you're going to place it as close to the beginning of the thing that you're writing. It might be a Slack, it might be a slide deck, but you want that main message to come as close to the beginning as possible. Then you've got to organize your content. And the rule of thumb here is you're organizing your content to support that message and explain your thinking, because your main message is going to be pretty high level. It's going to require explanation. It's going to require support. And here's the pro tip. If you support your main message with a set of parallel ideas, your reasoning will be clear and you'll be following the pyramid principle. The pyramid principle is a best practice that comes from management consulting. And if it's a topic you're interested in, there is more information out there on the internet if you use this term. All right, so let me give an example. If you're organizing a deck, a slide deck around topics, you're very likely to have an agenda slide that's going to have a set of additional topics like background, research, option comparison, and possibly recommendation. Think about how little this actually communicates to somebody who is looking at this agenda slide. They still have no idea what your main message is. In contrast, if you create a deck with a today's discussion slide and you organize it to support your message and put that main message right on it, including your top reasons or reasoning for believing that to be the right message, right at the beginning of your deck, you've given your audience so much. They understand what your main message is, and they have a sense of how and why you believe it.
Rule number 4, include only the information needed to support your message. So what we're talking about here is no data dumps. We're trying to get people the information they need to have good business discussions and make good decisions. When you organize your information using the pyramid principle that Kathy referenced, it'll help you eliminate unnecessary details. It's much easier once you tell your audience, here's what I'm going to tell you, here's what I want you to know. You'll find it's much easier to pare down the support that you provide for that point of view. And here's a pro tip on this one. Rather than including all of that detail within the body of your communication, consider adding links to content that can be easily found elsewhere in the cloud or on the web, or if necessary, include an appendix within the materials that you're providing to the audience. So examples of how we go from sort of longer chronological writing to top down. Before example, a little memo that might go out to a team in a shipping and receiving environment. The before example might sound something like this. Last year, we saw deliveries delayed in ports due to missing signature on customs paperwork. Last quarter, service reps at our supplier took a week to return calls and 2 weeks to respond to emails. This week, we saw incorrectly marked boxes, damaged in the corners and at the bottom. I recommend that we find a new supplier. If you notice, there's some things that we would say aren't really working here. First of all, we have pretty much a chronological story that is leading up to the conclusion that we really need to find a new supplier. Why not put that right up at the top and start there? Because we haven't started there, we're more inclined to add a lot more details, as you've heard throughout my reading there. And it's hard to read and follow because we're wondering, where is this going? Where is this going? Versus taking the top-down pyramid principle approach. And after might sound, I recommend that we find a new supplier. 3 reasons why. Deliveries have been delayed due to avoidable errors. Customer service is unresponsive, and product handling is below our standard. So let's talk about it at our next staff meeting about how to find a replacement for the supplier. What we've done here is we've put that bottom line up front. Let's get a new supplier. We've cut out a lot of the unnecessary details, just given high-level synthesized ideas of what has gone wrong. And overall, it's just shorter and much easier to read, and our audience quickly gets what this is all about.
Okay, rule number 5, write mostly in bullets, no more than 5 in any list. All right, I think we all know that writing in bullets is a good approach for a business audience, and business readers have short attention spans, and therefore bullets really work for business writing. In addition, though, because business readers have such short attention spans, they're always looking to scan, if they can, to find the most important information. And so it's best to help them by writing in bullets, but being disciplined about writing high-quality bullets. They are easy to scan and easy to read. And the 2 most important rules for writing quality bullets would be no more than 5 per group, and the highest level bullets should be insights, not topics. The pro tip here is if you go back through your 5 bullets in any list and can make them more logically and grammatically parallel, it's going to be easier to read. So we've got a before and after example here. On the left for the before, we have a topic heading, corporate culture, and then we have a set of bullets. Motivated workers, attracts high-value employees, turnover reductions, et cetera, et cetera. This is a long list. It's got 9 items. And I think we can say that when lists get this long, they're really just not working for business readers with short attention spans. It's hard to read this list, and it's even harder to remember. In contrast, though, if you're writing quality bullets, according to the rules we're giving you here, you're going to start with a headline that's not a topic. It's going to be an insight. It's going to be a message. Take a look at the after version. The upgrades here are the points are grouped meaningfully. We've taken that long list and we've divided it into 2 points that have some kind of commonality. We've got clear so what insights, meaning that each grouping has been given an insight in a bolded point above it. And we've put an insight at the top of the whole thing. Healthy culture drives success. And so all of these things no longer feel like topics. They feel like insights, and the bolding makes them easily scannable.
So our 6th and final rule is that you need to visualize your data to support your message and eliminate visual clutter. So this is very similar to the other top-down rules that we've been talking about. When you look at the before example of a typical kind of chart that we see on the left-hand side, you have what I would call kind of a data dump. And it's the data equivalent of a word wall that we've talked about already, and the need to synthesize large chunks of information. So while it's great, they started to visualize this data, they didn't really finish synthesizing it. And we know that if we look below, no clear message or so what. So just like when we are synthesizing other kinds of information, we want to get to a point where we have one clear takeaway. So we want to have that at the top of our chart, just as we have put at the top of other communications that we've looked at. We will also have redundancy in this before example. The table repeats the data that's in the chart on the left. So it's really taking up valuable space. Plus, the chart form that's been chosen on the left of that before example doesn't do the best job of illuminating the data on that chart. We see some columns and we see some very small labels underneath it. It's really hard to get a sense of what that data is trying to tell us because it's very hard to read. And upon closer examination, you realize that these charts are operating on two different scales, when in fact, because we're talking about classic collection t-shirts and new release t-shirts, that scale difference seems like that's pretty important. And overall, this just leads to a cluttered and poor legibility kind of chart. So to solve for all of that, on the right-hand after example, you see, first of all, at the very top, now the main message that we want our audience to take away is stated right up there at the top of the chart. No questions. We've done our synthesis. This is what we think this data means. And this is a message that we think is going to resonate with our audience and fit within our overall story and structure that we've put together for this communication. Then their next job will be to look down and say, how do you know that? Why do you say that? We have actually put all of the data on the chart in one place. So we've eliminated some of the clutter. We've got it down to one chart form versus two separate charts. And then we've chosen a chart form where it's much easier for us to read long labels, since this is actually a ranking of the different territories. It's better to put it into a bar chart format and then actually use this paired or butted bar format to help illuminate the scale difference between the classics collections, which clearly they sell a lot more of than the new release t-shirts. So the title is the main message. We've actually put all the data right on the chart where it's easy to read. This chart design better illuminates our message that the United States is by far the largest and that the new releases is a much smaller part of the revenue. And overall, increased legibility, much easier for our audience to get a quick takeaway from this data. So that's it for our 6 rules. I'll pass it back to Kathy to wrap up.
If you found this interesting and would like to get this deck, once again, here's the page on the Kenning website where you can download the file today. Thanks so much for joining us. You can find out more about the workshop that teaches this content by visiting our website at kenningassociates.com/communicating-insights. Or drop us a note. Our email addresses are provided here. It was a pleasure to share this material with you. So now get out there and communicate some insights.
Thanks for joining us, everyone.